Hello everyone, my name is Marvin Carter. I'm here for the Virtual College and Career Day, and I'm one of the guest speakers. So I'll start off with a quick introduction, and I'll talk a little bit about those that are unsure about going to college. I'll talk a little bit about my inspiration and influences, some of the support systems that I have, motivation. I'll go on to some of the important skills that go into my job, talk about some of the challenges that are in that field, and then lastly, I'll talk about the importance to building relationships with people in the industry. All right, so first off, a little bit about what I'm actually doing. I'm an instructor for Fresno Community College. I got my schooling starting off in Fresno. I started at Hoover High, finished there. I had a scholarship for policy debate, and I got a philosophy degree from Fullerton. From there, I went pursuing rhetoric as well as communications, getting my master's degree at Fresno State, where I started teaching and pursuing being a program coordinator in the Bay Area for urban youth. So during that time, I started teaching and also found myself wanting to do a little bit more. And that's when I started to look into entrepreneurial paths, and I started my own company. So I'm founder and CEO of Carter Consulting LLC. And so my schooling / career path has taken its own unique kind of manifestation of itself, which leads me to the first question, right? So is there any advice really that I have for those that are unsure about attending colleges during this time? And the first thing I think I would say is embrace the uncertainty that you may or may not have, right? Like if you have uncertainty, embrace it, because that's what the college experience is about. College is about discovering, finding yourself in the midst of wonder, right? And that's where you start to become, right? In the new experiences and those new intensities, and you take those new lines of flight in different directions, and that's kind of what is beautiful, right, about the college experience. So if you're unsure and you're uncertain, that's what GE classes are for, right? To give you a little bit of a taste of all these different things that are out there, to see if any of that is of your interest. And then if something is and it catches, then you go into those upper division courses, and then maybe you pursue a degree in it or you pursue a minor in it, right? But that's what it's about, cultivating these kind of knowledges that help manifest themselves in you, right? Things that you identify with. And I think that that is something that those that are feeling uncertain, right, should really embrace, because it's part of the normative process of those that are going into college. You're gonna have some of those folks that go into college think they know exactly how it's gonna be, maybe because brother and sister or whomever has done it, but I guarantee you it's always a different course, because for each their own, right, especially when it comes to education. So what inspired me to go on my career path? And I think two things. Number one is community. I'm from Fresno, and I'm back here in Fresno teaching, and I think that's very important to me. My mom's taught on the west side for 20, 30 years. And she holds a huge and immense value and purpose in what she does, and I think that is definitely carried over to myself. And I also think that the value of my time as an entrepreneur is very important to me, because you're held accountable for your time. You're not on someone else's dollar, you're on your own dollar. And so I think that helps push you and motivate to do more and be better. And so I really appreciate that about the inspiration and what inspired me in terms of my career. When it comes to influences and motivation, they kind of walk hand in hand for me. I have to say my family has been a huge influence and motivation for me, always pushing me to work harder with my brother and my father, always having a hard will and hard work along with my mother, but supercharged by my mom and her self-determination. I've had amazing coaches throughout my life, from sports all the way through debate. Some of those folks are as close as family to me to this day. So when it comes to dire things like a support system and influence, and people that have influence to make me better, those advisors and coaches especially stand out as beacons for myself. And one other thing that I think is important in the college experience is that there's systems and support groups of people that come from the same kind of backgrounds, the same kind of experiences that you're in or that you've gone through. And I think that having those cohorts where other people that are able to identify with you is something else that's also unique and comforting in the experience and finding yourself when you're in college. When it comes to important skills for my job, what kind of things? Research at the end of the day, and being able to make that research accessible to other people, I think is essential in terms of what I do, especially when it comes to being an entrepreneur, especially when it comes to the classroom. No good talking high convoluted, theory if no one's able to understand it and digest it. What good are the words that I'm saying if they're only for my own ears, right? Like, what good is that if I'm not adding value to those that are around me? And so I think that for me, those are some of the most important skills. And then lastly, being able to communicate those skills, right? So if you have an amazing idea or an invention or this thought and you want others to be able to identify with it, I think communication is an integral portion of that. When it comes to different types of challenges in my work field, what have I found? Some of the challenges that I think that I find myself the most immersed in is the emotional toll. When you get good relationships with your students, good relationships with your clients, oftentimes, those lines, the comfortability and the trust is there. And so you hear about some of the things and stories that are going on, and you sympathize, empathize with them. And those thoughts never leave you, it's still running in the back of your head, and you want to help push and cultivate and do something better with those forms of knowledge that whether or not it's putting them towards other services and support groups, or maybe it's just making sure that you can be a sounding board a little bit after class for 5 minutes. And so sometimes it's just the emotional toll that I think can be one of the tougher elements to navigate in both of these industries that I'm in. In school, what prepared me the most for my career? Now, I would have to say policy debate. Policy debate and philosophy. Policy debate gives you the research, the argumentation skills that are transferable skills at the end of the day. Like, I use these skills regardless of what my day looks like. I'm constantly having things thrown at me and I have to defend against. I'm constantly having to fact check and double check forms and sources of information and make sure that I have an understanding of what is going on. All these things are essential. And so when it comes to what has prepared me the most, policy debate without a doubt. And then second would be philosophy, because it gave me the multiplicity of frameworks, the multiplicity of thought to see the world in different types of ways. And to me, that is something beautiful, because philosophy is about that wonder and love and wisdom. So lastly, how important is building relationships with people in your industry? Relationship building is one of the most essential things that as social beings we do. College is not just about the books and studying. College is also about the network. It's about building relationships with others. One of the mistakes that I made when I first was an undergrad was I would go into class, I'd wear a hoodie and I'd sit in the back of the class, and I wouldn't really want to engage. I wouldn't really want to speak unless spoken to or called on. And looking back, hindsight, I wish that I was more approachable. I wish that I took the hoodie down. I wish that I was having a few more conversations with the neighbors that I was sitting next to. I wish I went to a few more office hours, because those are the networks that are essential that you want to build. You want to build networks with your time. If you're going to sit there with a group of people with the same interest as you, because you're all in the same class, build and nourish those relationships, because you're probably going to see these people later on in life. Whether or not it's in college, maybe it's in work. So at the end of the day, building those relationships carry on to the future, and they have lasting consequences. So handle them with care, because they're essential to everything that we do. You sometimes hear the cliche, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Well, part of who you know is part of the network process. And part of that network process is finding yourself and who you want to know and who do you want to be a part of. I hope that some of the information I provided today for the College and Career Tour is beneficial to you. I hope it gives you a little bit of a slice of what is out there in terms of what you can and can't do. And if you have some apprehension and a little bit of hesitation about what you want to do with your future, to embrace that, right? Because it's a beautiful thing. All right, have a good day.